Hello everyone, I hope everyone is doing well. I'm still researching, looking for the best possible way to upgrade these mining rigs to proof of useful work. On my previous video we talked about upgrading this AMD mining rig with 6600 XT GPUs, and today we may need to think about using another rig, which is this one that has NVIDIA cards only. There are a couple of limitations that we need to take into account before deciding on the best hardware or components, specifically given the requirement that we need 8 electrical lanes per GPU. For mining, this is different. We can get away with 1 electrical lane per GPU like this. But for proof of useful work, we need 8 minimum, and not many home-based systems support that. So today I want to go over that, the PCIe lane requirements on the motherboard and on the CPU. Also, should I upgrade these rigs or invest on my existing workstation, the HP Z840, which are awesome? I'm not an expert on all this, but I'm learning as we go with you guys. I've been mining for a few years. I think proofs of useful work is going to change the way we mine, so I want to get ready for this, and hopefully this will help you get ready as well. Okay, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, and I've been educating myself on PCIe lanes. I found this article, cgdirector.com, Guide to PCIe Lanes, really good article, and it says how many do you need for your workload. So I think this is exactly what we're trying to solve here for proof of useful work. Now the article goes into detail. First starts with what is a PCIe lane. You guys know all this probably. I'm just gonna go over it quickly just to clarify a couple things. As a standard, every PCIe connection features 1, 4, 8, 16 or 32 lanes for data transfer, although consumer systems lack 32 lane support. Now, this is how they look typically, right? Now, most graphic cards in the market today require at least 8 PCIe lanes to operate at the maximum performance in gaming and rendering applications. For proof of useful, we know we need at least 8. Now, while graphic cards are compatible with being run on less than 8 PCIe lanes, you should expect a drop in performance. In multi-GPU configuration, 8 lanes are recommended per GPU, but you could do with few lanes depending on your workload. We know that given this workload that like AI and proof of useful, we're gonna need 8. So let's continue here. All PCIe slots are not the same. The physical size of the PCIe connector on the motherboard denotes its configuration. The typical slots are, like we say, 1, 4, 8, and 16. To make it easy to differentiate between physical slots and lane, we'll use the term mechanical and electrical. Okay, all right. In an ideal scenario, you can assume that the number of the connections specification indicates the number of PCIe lanes it carries, but it's not always the case. That's important to know. The number of PCIe lanes allocated to a particular device or slot on the motherboard varies, and the manufacturer is usually responsible for setting the number of lanes. So we always need to check the motherboard to know exactly, even though they may look as a 16 mechanical slot, it may not run on 16 electrical lanes. That's what they're trying to say here. And they give us an example here. It is easy to assume that the mechanical 16 slot makes use of 16 lanes, but depending on the factors like processor, motherboard chipset, and number of GPU, the number is subject to change. So depending on how, first the motherboard, then the chipset, then how many GPUs we're using, each lane may not be fully 16 PCIe lanes. So we gotta check for that. Here in this example, it gives us a screenshot of the actual motherboard that has on the top it looks as a 16 electrical, and it does have 16 it looks like 16 mechanical, and it does have 16 electrical. The bottom looks at 16 mechanical, but it's only 8 electrical and no pins here. All right, here, even though the slot has a mechanical length of 16, the pins only reach up to 8. That's a physical limitation, right? Furthermore, running 2 GPUs with this motherboard will force the top slot to operate with just 8 lanes due to the processor's limitation, although there are 16 physical PCIe lanes attached to it. All right, so just the fact that we have 2 GPUs will force the top one to use only 8 and to share all that bandwidth. All right, since the motherboard uses PCIe Gen 4, there is little to no impact on the GPU performance between 8 and 16 lanes, provided that GPU comes with PCIe 4 support. Even PCIe Gen 3 graphic cards will do just fine. Now, and I mention all this because when I check on the actual motherboard that I have on this AMD rig, this is the one I have, ROG Strix B550F Gaming. If you see, both PCI lanes look like 16 mechanical lanes, right? But only the top one is 16 electrical lanes. See, the bottom one is 4. So on the second one, it does look like a 16, but it's actually 4. So that one, I can use my GPU. I can use a GPU there, but it won't support the A minimum electrical lane requirement, right? The other ones are just here 1. I got 3 of one electrical lane. All right, so that's why it's important to check the specifications on the motherboard, and that's why I wanted to bring all this up. Now, let's keep going on the article, because now this is one aspect. Now we need to look at the CPU. The CPU not only needs to support, like we said with the requirement, 4 threads per GPU, but we need 8 electrical lanes per GPU. So we need a big processor capable of supporting all that. So let's take a look at, let's continue here. All right, let's continue picking the right amount of PCI lanes. Now that you know the required amount of PCI lanes for your workloads, it's vital to select a capable processor and motherboard, okay? So there are a couple of guides here on how you choose your motherboard. Here it says choosing a processor. We recommend a processor capable of providing at least 16 PCIe 4 lanes for tasks like video editing, graphic design, and general purpose gaming. Here it goes on the latest AMD Ryzen 5000. They support only 20 usable PCIe lanes, and the third generation, the Threadripper, 62 usable, so much better. These are the HEDT or high-end desktops, right? Let's continue here. I think this is important to know. Maybe you know all this, but I think I got a couple of good things. They say that you'll find some motherboards to state they offer more PCIe lanes that should be possible. Apparently, like that one Asus X299 Sage, for example, should only be possible to offer 44 PCI lanes, given the CPU has the amount of lane available. In fact, though, the motherboard offers GPU configs up to 8 PCI lanes, so that's a total of 56, or 16 PCI lanes of 64. This is possible of the so-called PLX chip on the motherboard, which manage PCI lanes. So apparently there are some motherboards that do offer more PCI lanes that possible with that technology. All right, gonna keep going here. It's also important once you finish building your rig, setting up your motherboard for multi-GPU and add-on card support is necessary to ensure seamless operation. Sometimes motherboards may not allocate the correct amount of PCI lanes to your mechanical 16 slot, leading to the GPU not showing up or performing poorly. So you gotta make sure your motherboard is assigning the right amount of PCI lanes to the slot as well, right? All right, and I did find this interesting. How many lanes do the M2 drives use? Because I'm gonna have to put some M2 SSD drive for the fast storage, right? So yes, M2 drives can use up to 4 PCI lanes. So that's something you gotta take into account as well. They usually use 4 PCI lanes. All right, let's keep going here. What CPU has the most PCI lanes? HEDT and server-grade CPUs have the highest number of PCIe lanes. The AMD's Threadripper CPU series come with 64 PCI lanes. That would be ideal, although we gotta check on the price. Does RAM use PCI lanes? No, system memory RAM does not. That's good to know. Okay, so enough with the PCI lanes. I think you got it. We need 4 minimum for each GPU. Then we gotta ensure that not only that, but we need that the mechanical support 8, even though they look at 16, they support 8. And then we need to look for the CPU that support the total amount of PCI lanes that we're gonna put on that rig, right? So let's go to Newegg, and I want to just do a quick, I want to just show you a quick query that I did. I went to motherboards, shop by category, and I did AMD. I started with AMD, and then I went here and I said, okay, show me all the PCIe lanes were in here. You can see 5.0, 4.0, but I'm gonna start with 3.0, 16, okay? So I want the maximum, which is, it seems to be 4. So 4 PCIe lanes of 16. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, and then I'm gonna sort it by lowest price. So this gives you an idea of what's in the market and what you can get with 4. So I'm gonna check any of the, I'm gonna check this one, the 399. Okay, that's for 541. There's some refurbished here for 509. All right, and let's check the actual configuration. Let's go to the, let's check here. All right, that seems to be directly from the manufacturer. Okay, let's see the tech specs here. Still loading. All right, CPU. All right, AMD, so AMD Soccer, first generation, AMD Threadripper. All right, let's check here. Multi GPU support, NVIDIA, AMD, expansions here. 4 PCIe 3.0 16. All right, and here's the different modes, right? Single 16, dual 16 16, triple 16 16 8. So all right, so that's how you check on the if the actual physical or mechanical support 16 electrical lanes each. When you have multiple GPUs, they may be in 8 mode, or some may be in 16. So, but the important thing is that they are in the 8 mode, which is this mode, right? All right, and that gives you an idea. And then what I did is I went to support here, CPU memory support, and there you are. I have all the CPUs that are compatible with this motherboard. And what I need to look at is the number of cores, right? And then depending on how many threads, so depending on how many cores, that will determine how many threads I will have. I need 4 threads per GPU. That's kind of the requirement. So at least I need, for 4 GPUs, I need 16 threads, right? All right, so let's look at this 12 core. I'm gonna copy this and look exactly at what are we looking at here. How much? Let's see. Newegg. All right, so we got this AMD Ryzen Threadripper first generation with 12 cores, 24 threads. So 24 threads, right? It uses 180 watts for $209.99. So that's not that bad. I thought that was much higher, but this is first generation, so this one could work, and it fits that GPU. I'm sorry, that motherboard. All right, and this is one way then that I can solve this problem. I can upgrade the motherboard and the CPU, and it will probably fit all this. It's just that I'm looking at 541 and 209. That's $700 on upgrades just for proof of use will work. So that's one option. I can go back here, keep researching, and you guys can do the same. For I just look at AMD. Maybe we can look at Intel now motherboards. So if you do that, the same thing. You go here, you do PCIe Express 3.0. Even they have 6. Look, 6 PCIe 16 lanes. So I'm gonna do this for 4, 5, and 6. Let's do that. Let's do lowest price. Let's see what we find here. That's not it. We got here Gigabyte B760. Is this truly? Let's look at that's the Asus here. Let's look at this one, 247. I'm gonna copy. Has 1, 2. Look like 2 there. Let me look at another one. Take a look at this one. 1, 2, 3. That may look 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's take a look at this one. This one may have 4 Intel. Let's see this. I'm using pre-search as my default search engine. I think I mentioned that in a couple of videos. So let's look at the gigabyte here. Gigabyte, motherboard. All right, let's look at the PCIe gen. Where is that? Specifications. All right, memory. Yeah, just right here. Two PCIe Express 16 slot running at 16, good. Then one PCIe Express 16 running at 8, okay. And then two PCIe Link 16 slots running at 4, so that doesn't qualify. So pretty much 1, 2, 3. We can use 3 of these. That's why it's important to check this, the specifications of the actual motherboard, right? And then once you find the specific motherboard that fits your needs, you gotta check for the CPU that fits all the PCIe lanes that needs to support. Now I want to bring back to discussion the usage of workstations, right? These are the HP Z840 workstations. I have 3 of these. I love them. I use them for a lot of things. And you can see here in the configuration, on the specifications, first slot is 4 lanes, PCIe Gen 3, 4 lanes. We're not gonna use that one for the GPU. Second slot is Gen 3 16, that one is 1, qualifies. The third one is Gen 3 8 electric lanes, available only when the second processor is installed. So if you have 2 dual CPUs like I have, we can use this third slot, okay? So we got 2 now. Fourth slot here is Gen 3 16, only available when the second processor installed. I got 2, so 2 CPUs, so now that one qualifies. So we got 3 so far. Slot fifth is Gen 2 4 when 1 CPU installed, and transfers to Gen 3 8 electrical lanes when second CPU installed. So now we got 4 available. This one qualifies now as well. And the sixth slot is Gen 3 16, so fifth. So I got 5 slots that qualify for GPUs. Now what's the challenge with all these workstations? Well, the amount of space, right, between each PCIe lane. I have, this is the HP 840 workstation motherboard, and you can see right now I have one with 2 3070, one 3070 and one other 3070 Ti, one on the second PCIe slot that takes pretty much all the space. Even that one is like huge, and the second 3070, which was really hard to fit in, is using that slot and it's taking all this. All right, so there's not much space. So what's the solution? I think NVIDIA RTX A4000. These are professional grade GPUs built for workloads, heavy workloads, I would say, on workstations. This particular version comes with 16 gigabytes PCI Express 4. And you can see it's just 1 slot, it takes 1 slot. That's why this will be the ideal, I think, choice in terms of space, right? And the latest version is the RTX A4000. Now the previous version is the NVIDIA Quadro RTX 4000 without the A, but it comes with 8, so half the memory, 8 gigabytes, and it's PCIe 3, a little less. Now the previous version to that will be the P4000, Quadro P4000 with 8 gigabytes as well, 256 memory interface, 448, so much less, still 1 slot. Now I'm checking here on eBay, and you can get an RTX A4000 16 gigabytes for 521, so significantly less, right? And then if you compare the advantages between RTX A4000 versus the P4000, released 4 years and 2 months late, boost clock has increased by 5%, more VRAM, so 16 double, right? Large VRAM bandwidth, so bandwidth is 448 versus 243, and then 4,352 additional rendering cores, so quite significant number of increase in CUDA cores, right? Total draw power 105 versus 140, so lower, use less energy. No, that's the Quadro P4000, so the previous version used less energy, 105 versus 140. All right, so that's the comparison, and then I want to check one more thing here. If you want to go with the cheapest, it will be the P4000, the previous generation, with 8 gigabytes, one slot as well, for $225. All right, I'm gonna leave it at that. This is the second part of how to upgrade your mining rig for proof of useful work. I want to thank everyone that provided really great feedback. That's what inspired me to do this series and this second part. I'm gonna continue doing. If you guys are interested, let me know. If you like this content, I'm gonna continue upgrading my mining rigs and my workstations. I'm also starting building a shed outside, so I'll show you that how it's gonna look like. Nothing fancy, but I just want to move some of the equipment outside. Anyway, hope you guys enjoy. Let me know your comments. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.